Hey y'all, I'm back for the season finale of Welcome to Derry. And first things first. Rich! Rich came through in the clutch, y'all. Rich came back. He came back in spirit. I was so happy to see Rich. And your boy made it on Main Street. He made it on Main Street. I'm serious. When I saw Rich's spirit coming across the river or the embankment because it was frozen and he had his middle finger up to Pennywise, I was like, yeah, fuck that nigga. I was like, Rich! I was so happy. Um the way that Welcome to Derry ended and really the way that season one ended, I was like, yeah, America is in its own augury. Period, point blank. Like this time, everything is going. I was like, this is its own augury. With everything that happened, we'll start from the beginning of the episode. Well, a little bit. I always go in kind of like the story flow of what's happening. At the end of episode 7, we see that Pennywise has Will. He gets Will through I believe I would say maybe some type of mind control or either just like some usurping of the initial spirit that like puts them in this comatose like pause type of thing. And that's where he has Will. And of course, the girls are together and they're trying to figure out where everybody is at. So the main things that happened during this episode is that Pennywise, when they melted that pillar, we saw this big, huge fog like just rush in to Derry. Like it almost reminded you of when 9/11 came and how those big smoke clouds just like came and like engulfed the city in like record time. Just like it's like almost like you could just see the clouds kind of like walking and running through the streets and consuming everything around it. And we see that in the city, like people are stopping and staring. They're getting out their cars. We see a woman holding her baby. And I'm like, bitch, go. You see some shit coming, move. Um, so they're at the air base and we see that that's happening. We see like the monitor and everything taking over. And we also see where Shaw, he's not upset about it. He's not like leery of it or anything. We see what's his name? Leroy is at the house on the base. He tries to call to get Will, and he doesn't get Will. Nobody picks up, but the phone rings again, and it's Pennywise on the phone snickering, and you can hear Will in the background, and he says something about dark meat tastes just as sweet. And I was like, you know what? They have been known to cannibalize us in the past. And so Leroy hears it. He's like, give me my son, everything. He freaks out, breaks the phone and everything. He goes to Halloran's dorm. Halloran is literally on the point of ending it all. He has a gun and he's seeing all the spirits in his head. He can't get away from it. And he's about to end himself until Leroy busts in. And Dick is like, he's still like, I'm about, like, I'll shoot. Until he says, the thing has Will. Help me get my baby back. And that's when Halloran comes down. And, okay, he knows he has a mission now. So they go to Rose's house. Because, mind you, Charlotte is at Rose's house with Hank's ass. With Hank. Listen, I'm going to get to Hank. Over there with Hank. So they come in. Of course, Charlotte finds out that Will is gone and she loses it on Leroy, telling him, you told us we was going to be safe here. Our son is gone, everything. Rose is coming up in her mind. Taniel is there on how to try to recage this spirit. And they're like, we're running out of time because it's this like deadwood. It's a deadwood, this location on the other side of this big lake, you'll say. If Pennywise or the spirit reaches that, it's at the point of no return. It's gonna be what it's gonna be now outside of the bounds of the pillars to even try to trap the spirit back in. So they're pretty much at a rush against time. And Rose is like, well, the only thing we can do now is we have to figure out where that pillar is that the kids have. So they use Halloran in this way to, she tells him, I can give you this, this herb. It'll quiet the voices in your mind, but you have to be able to help us to pretty much psychic and see where this pillar is so we can get it to where it needs to be. Now, Pennywise then got his ass at the school. And he is on the intercom telling all the kids to come to the auditorium. A key thing that he said was upperclassmen can leave. Everybody else must come to the auditorium. And I find that so interesting. It's so interesting that they really want a specific group of children. Like, it's almost like this group of children still has like their, and not even just their innocence of childhood, but their, I think, most pure spirit, so that they haven't been tainted by outside forces in a way, not even just like through religion, but outside forces in a way to not taint their imagination and taint the things that they can see for what it really is. A lot of times, just because you can't see something in the tangible realm does not mean it's not happening. And children are closest to the spirit world, so they pick up on that. And so they do want to harvest these very young children who are closest, almost most pure to this spirit realm that they then use to control the masses, i.e. today. So all the kids get to the auditorium, and they see Principal Dunleavy. He look off. Something look wrong with him. Then they see Pennywise has his body up like a puppet and like gouges his eyes out and rips his head off. So, the kids trying to run out now. They can't get out. Pennywise to lock the door, and he opens his mouth and does the same thing and takes raises all the kids up and starts taking like their spirit with him. Ronnie, Lilly, and Marge, they are at their hideout, and they see that all this, clouds coming through. And so when they're going down to figure out what's happening, when they go down, all of a sudden the whole building that they were in is covered with missing posters of these kids. Like, so and so is missing. I ain't gonna lie, when the patty cakes guy got, I was like, that's what you bitches get, because they was even in the auditorium talking shit about Lilly. Like, damn. Then they see the poster for Will, and they're like, oh shit, they got our boy Will. So they go back to the school trying to figure out what's happened. Like, is it really happening? They see Principal Dunleavy's head outside. They see this trail of blood, and they find the dead milkman's body, but they see the milk truck, and they like, hey, we got to use it to catch up to get Will. Marge is the one that's driving, and Ronnie was like, girl, do you even know how to drive? She was like, no, but I seen my uncle do it. And she was like, and you got one eye? So Marge driving, don't nobody know how to drive, and then Marge really is literally tunnel vision. Baby girl driving with tunnel vision. So they end up wrecking the damn truck, and the pillar falls out. And so what happens as this fog is coming through, it also causes you to hallucinate and to act deranged. So that's why when Lilly gets the pillar, she starts acting crazy, like she don't want Ronnie or Marge to have the pillar, and they start to fight over it. And so they get it back from her, and she's like, and they're like, Marge, they're like, Lilly, this is not you. This is not you. Snap out of it. And so then once they do that, they decide to take turns holding it. So pretty much, Halloran, mind you, Halloran and them, they are now in the van because they have Halloran, Rose, Taniel, Charlotte, and Leroy in the van to try to, get to the kids because Halloran can see where the pillar is at. And he's like, oh, all the kids over this ice. And Rose is like, we're not going to make it in time because he's already there. Like, we have to do something. Have to be able to pause it or whatever. So they're in the van and, well, the girls reach Pennywise before they do. And they see the kids suspended. Pennywise comes out and he's like fucking with them, like running across because he knows he can't really pull up to them because they have the pillar, but he's able to separate Marge from the group, and he gets her and almost attacks her, but he's paused by I'm assuming the pillar. But before that, he tells her that she's gonna have a son that's gonna kill him. And she's like, how does that happen? And it's like, well, the past is the same as the present, and the present is the same as the future. Time really is circular. It's not linear. It's the same thing happening over and over again. So Marge is able to get back to the girls. The Charlotte and Leroy them all get there in time to be able to, be able to get to the pillar, but Marge and them have it. So they got to get to the deadwood, which is all the way on the other side of the river. Mind you, the soldiers, I can't remember the white guy's name, but he tells General Shaw that Leroy done busted out of there, and he was like, it's okay, we don't need him no more. But he was like, he got Halloran with him. And they was like, get that nigga. Halloran is like the psychic energy that is going to be, he really is the medium for them to be able to get all of this done. So they have to get to the pillar, they have to get to the deadwood in time to push the pillar back into the earth, so there where it's still within the realm of all the other pillars to trap the spirit again. The soldiers start shooting because, mind you, the kids are on this ice. The rest of the kids from Pennywise are suspended. Well, no. The kids drop down. The kids get unthawed, and that's when Will comes out, and he's able to get back with Marge, Ronnie, and Lilly, and he runs to his daddy and everything. But mind you, the soldiers are on the ice now trying to prevent all of that from happening, and they start shooting. They end up killing Taniel. Hit him in the neck. They hit Leroy in the leg, and Leroy is telling Will, go with your friends. You got to put it in the deadwood. Got to get it in the dirt and everything. So the soldiers swarm the van. They pull Halloran out. They're trying to get him out. So the kids are running to the deadwood, but the closer they get to the deadwood, the harder it gets for them. Because, like, Will has the pillar, and it almost pushes him in the opposite direction, and they have to work together to get to the deadwood. This is when your boy Rich come through. Rich's spirit, literally, his spirit comes. You see him running across the ice, and he like chucking it up to Pennywise, and he's smiling, and you see him like come with the kids, and he now is another pair of hands to help them push the pillar down into the deadwood. They finally push the pillar down into the deadwood, and then they are able to pretty much lock the spirit back in, and you see that the spirit, because at that point it turned into some type of like dragon thing, and when it got pushed back, like when the pillar got into the soil, all of the different faces that it has had through this season, the baby, that crazy ass baby when it took Marty, Lily's daddy, Pennywise itself, you see like it just all these different entities, like it's peeling off of it, and it's pushed back and it's destroyed. General Shaw's ass get ate the fuck up because, and I'm glad his ass did, because at one point when Pennywise was still like frozen, he gonna walk up to it talking about, oh, I didn't know you were real, but I thought you were like a nightmare come true or whatever for a little boy. And so when Pennywise comes back into it, he attacks Francis Shaw, which I'm glad he did. I'm glad he got that motherfucker out the way, because he the reason for the problem. Well, he's the problem. Hank Hank had a fucking gun and did not bust it. When I tell you I'm sick of Hank, and I'm glad he survived because I wanted Ronnie to have her daddy, but goddamn, Hank, fuck. It was, I know I'm just cussing and everything, but after the kids get everything, they get the deadwood and they're talking to each other. They're like, "Did you all feel that?" And it was like, I felt it too. They was like, it felt like there were more hands on the pillar to help us in the third. And Will was like, it was rich. It was rich. So we come to Rich's funeral and we see Marge talking at Rich's funeral, saying how she only knew him for like a month. And it's, there's not really a such thing as good or bad friends, just friends who are really there for you when you need it. And we see Rich's spirit again, like he's comforting them, like he's the one like laying his head on Will's shoulder as they're sitting at his funeral. He's also still having hands on his mama and his daddy's shoulder. And Dick Halloran comes up to them and tells them that hand that you feel on your shoulder, it is your son. He's still with you. And they're like, "Well, who are you?" And he's like, "I'm still trying to figure that out." So we cut to the end and we see where Rose wants Charlotte and Leroy to stay in Derry, since they now know what Derry is, and they will be the ones to help when the augury comes back up again. And they're like, at first they're like no, but then they end up staying. Ronnie ends up leaving with her dad and her grandma to make it to Canada, and we see Lilly finally get to visit her daddy at the cemetery and speak to him. And Marge, the last thing that we get from Marge was when they went back to their hangout, and she tells Lilly about what Pennywise said to her about her one day having a son. And she was like, "So does that mean Pennywise will now try to go in the past and try to get them by killing their parents when they were little, or a grandparent before they even get here?" And Lilly made a good point. She was like, that's going to be their road to cross when it comes. We've already done our part. And that kind of is the truth when cycles keep repeating. But I would say I loved, it did say chapter 1, so I'm assuming it's going to be another part. I really love this show. There's so many key nuggets that really, I think each character in its way really showcases a bigger thought or a bigger thing going on in the universe or in the world, in the spiritual realm. And I may come back and talk about that, because I really feel like those are some things. There's so many parallels in this show to in this time, even if you think about stuff that you saw on The Simpsons and shit like that. But season finale, Rich made it on Main Street. He made it on Main Street. And I was so happy. I was so happy.